They say power shows its true face in silence. This is the story of a man who found a mask of impossible whiteness and of how its brilliance transformed trust into fear, poetry into tyranny, and a community into whispers of dread. The Red Sea in 2125 shimmered under twin suns, its waters a mirror of the expanding sky. Hobyo Nova, a port city in Somalia, floated there, a fleet of patched-up vessels, some old and weathered, others sleek, with anti-gravity enhancements and solar sails shining like steel wings. The pirates who lived there were unlike any crew before. They were a community without hierarchy, bound by shared decisions, respect, and the rhythms of the sea. Ayanle was a man who walked among them, not the strongest nor the fastest, but a hacker of unparalleled skill, eyes always flicking between codes and currents, between screens and stars. Where others relied on strength or cunning in combat, he relied on intellect. He had always loved his people, but he longed to see beyond the horizon, beyond the predictable patterns of their existence. In the ruins of an ancient neighboring country called Old Djibouti, sunken for decades and now covered by coral gardens, he found something extraordinary. A mask, stark white, resting on a rusted chest, smooth, unmarked, impossibly bright. No inscriptions, no symbols, no language to tie it to any people. Only purity, only whiteness. It emitted a subtle hum, an almost imperceptible vibration that resonated through the water and into his fingers. He lifted it, and the sea currents seemed to shift, a warning, or perhaps a promise. Weeks passed before he understood the mask's complexity. It was encrypted, sophisticated beyond his expectations. Ayanle, obsessed, worked day and night, diving into simulations, code, and neural mapping. When he finally unlocked it, the mask awoke. At first, the mask sharpened perception. Every facial expression, every intention, every movement left an imprint on technological matter at some small level. Then, slowly, subtly, it gave him control over drones, ships, communication systems, even devices far across the Red Sea. With it, Ayanle and his fleet committed the most successful theft in the history of Somalia. With the mask's powers, Ayanle made 20 Arab ships loaded with goods sail into the port of Hobyo Nova. A robbery without victims, but not without consequences. The first of these consequences was that the mask emitted subtle neural frequencies, targeting areas of the brain linked to empathy, self-control, and aggression. When used merely to decrypt systems, the mask caused little harm, but to control such a massive Arab fleet for so long, the effect was irreversible. Ayanli's emotional range warped. Calm became exhilaration. Consideration became command. He felt himself at once sharper and crueler, more decisive and less compassionate. Upon returning to Hobyo Nova, he expected admiration or curiosity. Instead, the pirates gathered, eyes wary. In another country, he might have been imprisoned, perhaps executed, for carrying out such a great raid without consulting his peers. An attack so devastating, with such powerful technology, would inevitably shift the balance of power between nations. The Somali pirates forbade the use of the mask. They said no black man should ever wear a white mask again. And for a time, Hobyo Nova lived in peace. 10 years later, rumors spread. The Arabian Consortium amassed new fleets, more sophisticated, AI-guided, capable of obliterating Hobyo Nova. The community turned to Ayanle. Only he knew the mask's codes. Only he could command the drones and ships needed to defend them. If merely commanding a fleet of ships had made him irritable, he feared what he might become if he used the mask to fight a war against Arabia alone. Yet Ayanle had no time. His people depended on him. Wearing his white mask, he rose into the skies above the fleet of drones. He was no longer merely a man. He was a god in motion. Every ship, every drone, every device within range responded to thought alone. The Red Sea became a stage, waves and vessels moving in harmony with his mind, metallic wings slicing through clouds. At first, exhilaration, then isolation. Every command he gave, every maneuver he executed dulled empathy further. The pirate's admiration turned into apprehension, whispers of unease circulating below. The white mask reflected centuries of history, colonization internalized, the betrayal of community, the erosion of equality. Days passed. Ayanle's decisions became less consultative, more authoritarian. Protection twisted into control. Drones patrolled aggressively. Ships enforced stricter discipline. Hobio Nova, once a utopia, transformed subtly under his influence. Obedience over freedom, fear over trust. The mask's neural pulses drove him toward domination. He was sharper, faster, stronger, but colder, less empathetic, more reactive. Each day he saw the consequences in the eyes of those he loved. Ayanle feared betrayal, and so he never removed the mask from his face. He slept in isolation, inside a chamber heavily guarded by the drones he had conquered in battle. Even with the consortium in retreat, the shadow lingered. Fleets preparing, mercenaries gathering, whispers of vengeance. The survival of Hobio Nova depended entirely on him. Ayanle began conducting expeditions to Old Djibouti, obsessed with discovering more about the mask. But there the climate was not welcoming. The sea churned violently, waves like living mountains. Ayanle rose above them, drones circling, sails radiating electric light. Below, the pirates of Hobio Nova watched, hearts racing, eyes wide. They saw awe, power, but also fear. This was not the Ayanle they knew. This was colonization made flesh, a man transformed by white tyranny, wielding his people's survival as domination. That was when he saw his daughter at the prow. She was an inexperienced pirate, and he had ordered her not to join the fleet to Old Djibouti. But she ignored the warning. In a surge of anger, a micro-thought of violence, so subtle that even Ayanle barely noticed it, was enough to activate a war drone that tore off one of his daughter Layla's arms. Silence. Ayanle finally realized what he had become. He was no leader. He was no god. He had become a white demon, and all who followed him were his slaves, horrified by his every action. His daughter, Layla, kneeling and petrified, stared at him with the same look of deep terror, the same look that now Ayanle saw reflected in himself. The mask had not merely given him strength, it had eroded the equality, the trust, and the freedom that once defined Hobio Nova. It was the colonizer's echo, beautiful, alien, destructive. And it lived through him. Two paths stretched before him, both unbearable. 1. Maintain absolute control, ensure survival, but crush freedom, trust, and love beneath the weight of his command. 2. Reject control, refuse to wield the mask fully, but risk destruction, death, and the loss of everything he held dear. Neither could be chosen without violence, without suffering. But the mask had fused itself to his neural pathways. It could no longer be removed. His amygdala flared, emotions spun into chaos. Empathy dulled, reason battled instinct. He closed his eyes. Only one solution remained. Ayanle rose higher into the storm, drones forming a halo of motion, metal wings slicing through the clouds. Rain lashed his face. Lightning painted the sky in stark white flashes, reflecting on the mask that had brought both ruin and revelation. He extended his arms, guiding the drones in a final, breathtaking choreography. Ships and machines moved in impossible spirals, an aerial ballet of beauty and destruction, a testament to power wielded and restrained, to control surrendered. In that aerial ballet, Ayanle and the drones became a great flying lightning rod. Above the sunken city of Djibouti, lightning struck through the drones, Ayanle and the White Mask. Ayanle's body was caught by the drones of his pirate companions before it could fall into the sea, and somehow he was still alive. But his face was raw flesh, for the mask had been hurled away, taking Ayanle's face with it. Layla ran into his arms, rain soaking them both. His eyes met hers, and in them he saw fear, understanding, and love. He had crossed the fine line between protector and tyrant, and he would now have to face the consequences of his actions. Hobyo Nova returned to its egalitarian rhythm, the pirates weaving their lives back into freedom. Decision-making once again became a chorus, every voice valued, every life significant. Ayanle suffered severe neurological damage and now moved with great difficulty. But every day his daughter took him to Hobyo Nova's Bay to gaze at the Red Sea. He said he liked to admire the ocean, but in truth he went there so as not to forget the terror. For deep down in the sea, far below, Ayanli knew the White Mask was waiting for another ambitious man to seduce.